Good morning once again. This is Godfrey Mayende, tutor who is taking you in information technology. This is now the fifth video lecture. The previous we talked about how to create forms and reports using the form wizard and using the report wizard. Today we are going to look at how to use the to do queries, because usually when you want to make reports, you want to make reports coming from specific data that you want, and a query can help you pick the right data that you really need to be part of your set. So now here we know that we have looked at Microsoft Access, where we created different forms. We created the forms, the product form, supplier form, transaction form. We also created reports and product reports. Now we are going to see how to create forms. And I said, when you are creating something, you have to go to create on the ribbon here. And then he said, now here we have finished the tables, we have finished the forms, we have finished the reports, and we are looking at the query design. So you click on query design, because you want to create a query. And when you go to query design, actually it's very important to be familiar with the queries, because they carry a lot of marks if it's for purposes of exams, and if it's purposes of trying to create reports when you are making this for an industry or an organization. Also, queries are quite important, because you need to make specific reports that have meaning. They come from the queries. So here, if you want to you add, just like we added in the relationships, when we created relationships earlier, we keep adding one by one. Supplier, we click on transaction, we click on add, and you can close that. So here we see we have it's related, to show the relationship, and now we want to create data that is coming from the multiple tables. So like in this case, we want to get to know who made a transaction, which product was transacted, and who was the supplier of the product. You cannot get them by just picking a report. So you need to make a query in that form. So here we have possibility that we want to know the product name. So it will come from the product table. So we want to know the product name. We want to know the supplier of the product, and therefore that will come from, we shall say, the supplier first name. We want to know the date of transaction, that means it's a transaction, so the date will come from the date transaction. We also want to know under product, we want to know what is the unit price, what was the unit price of that, and we also need to know the quantities. So quantities are in the transaction table. So here we are saying that you have picked that I want to get to know product name, I want to know the supplier first name, I want to know the transaction date, I want to know the unit price, I want to know the quantity. But remember, these are all coming from multiple tables. All the three tables are giving us data. And when you do this, afterwards you save this. You save this query, and maybe we can give it a name. Depending on the name, maybe we can say, let's say, who is the class rep? Your class rep is called the Lydia, so we can give it Lydia. So basically, we have here a name called, we have now, we click OK after typing the name. So here on this side, we have a query here. So when you double click on this query, it will be able to give you the fields that you have inserted. These are coming from multiple tables, and that's how we can be able to do that. But you can also be able to go back to the design view by right clicking on this and clicking on design view. You get back here. But you have got quantity and you have got unit price. But that's not enough. Maybe you want to know what is the what is the product, because I have quantity and unit price, but what is the amount? That's what I want to come out from the query. Then here I'm going to be forced to say the amount, and to get the product calculated field, I'm going to create a new field which is going to be calculated, and I can click here. Then you go to the builder, under the builder it will be able to show you here that you have the unit price, you have the quantities. So you double click on unit price and it will appear up here. Then you press the multiplication symbol, the star, and then you double click the quantities. So you have said unit price times quantity. Please don't put X in between. Here in the computer we use star to mean multiplication. If you put X, nothing will happen. So once that is done, you can go here and say OK, click on OK, and here it will give you something that kind. It will give you unit price times that, and also gives you expression 1. And that means the field name is going to be called expression 1. So that means if I save this work and I double click on Lydia, there will be another field which is multiplying unit price times quantity, and it's being called expression 1. But this is not a good name. So you can go back to the design view, and here don't remove the full colon, but just remove that and just say I want to call it amount. So when I call it amount and I click on save, then it will be able to give me, double click, then here I will be having something called amount. So basically it's able to give me that. So that becomes much easier to get the amount in that way. So that's how you can be able to do to make a new field, because so many times they will ask you to create a new field. So that means if I want to add, assuming I wanted to add the unit price plus quantity, maybe there are other fields that you want to make the additions from. Or if you want to this is the amount here. The amount you're having is the new amount, but here you want to create a new amount, which is you want to increase the amount by 50%, for example. So you can click on build, you double click on amount. If you want to increase amount by 50%, then you are going to multiply amount times 1.5, because 50%, increasing it by 50%, you would say get the amount multiplied by 50% and then add the amount, just the calculation that we used to do. But you can just do, if you want to get the amount, you just say amount times 1.5 means the new amount is going to be is the product of 1.5 times the amount. So now here I'm going to, after that I will click on OK, but here it is giving me expression 1. Now I can say I want to call this new amount, and this new amount is a calculation, is an additional that has put it at that value. So I can save. When I double click on this amount, it will be able to give me that the new amount is that, which is the product, is increment of this by 50%. So it has gone up there. If you want to, for example, I am looking for product names, only product names that start with a B, for example. If I want to look for product names that start with B, then I also have an option here in the design view under criteria where the product name is, and if I say starting with a B, I put B and I put a star. So here it will be able to give me that B and star. But then I would say like, I put a single colon, I also put here a single colon, and then I would say, I will click on, I will save that. When I double click on that, it will only give me products with starting with B. But assuming I wanted to get those that end with S, For example, I can right click on that and I come here and say products that end with S, and I'll put S at the end so that I can get all those that are ending with S. So when I save that, I double click, it will be able to give me all those beans, grains, all those that are ending with S.